But we gotta keep one thing in mind.
Okay.
You know, I don't think no one picked Xander to win.
No.
You know, and I love Xander, and he's a great kid. You know, but no one like I think we overhyping this victory. You know, in a sense where nobody picked Xander to win. Everybody was kind of like, okay, he's in over his head, and it's a matter of time before Boots catch him and end the fight. But
It
what
was
round will it be?
right.
Now, I think it's going to be different when he goes up against a Fundora or a Virgil, because if one of those guys get him hurt, like Xander did, I don't think it's going to be the same outcome.
Yo, is Terence Bud Crawford hating on Jerome Boots Ennis, or is the man spitting facts? When he was live with the Porter Way podcast with Sean Porter, giving his reaction, giving his honesty when it comes to Jerome Boots Ennis' performance against Xander Zayas this last Saturday. 7th round TKO stoppage, winning the WBA, WBO junior middleweight titles. Terence Bud Crawford, like y'all just heard, says that we're overhyping this win. That we're overhyping Jerome Boots Ennis' performance against Xander Zayas. And I know why he's saying that. Let's not play dumb here. Y'all seen the success that Xander Zayas was able to put on Jerome Boots Ennis in round 3. You heard Terence Bud Crawford specifically say that if that was Virgil Ortiz or Sebastian Fundora that put him in that type of trouble, he doesn't think the fight would have ended up turning out the way it did with Jerome Boots Ennis on top. He truly believes that Virgil Ortiz and Fundora would be able to capitalize on those vulnerable moments of Jerome Boots Ennis. Terence Bud Crawford assessed Xander Zayas and says that he has respect for the kid and everything like that, but he's 23 years old. When you actually look at the background, when you look at the resume, when you look at the experience of Xander Zayas, he might not even be top 5 in the junior middleweight division. And I'm not saying that just to be annoying, but you got Sebastian Fundora, Virgil Ortiz, you got Jerome Boots Ennis, you got the likes of guys like Erickson Lubin, Tim Zhu, Earl Spence, Jamal Charlo. Guys that Xander Zayas has never fought. Even though Josh Kelly, Bakar Merzatalia, even though he was able to get 2 titles, become the unified junior middleweight champion of the world, who did he beat to win those titles? George Garcia for the WBO vacant junior middleweight strap, remember? Sebastian Fundora was a unified WBC, WBO, was mandated to fight his mandatory in Xander Zayas, decided not to do that to pursue the Tim Zhu rematch. Xander Zayas fights George Garcia for the vacant WBO strap, wins it, then unifies with Abbas Barao. Who really are these guys? Terence Bud Crawford makes that argument and then continues on and says that Jerome Boots Ennis is 10 feet beneath me. That Jerome Boots Ennis cannot compete with somebody like me. I am far, far, far superior. 10 feet beneath me is Jerome Boots Ennis, says Crawford. And for those who keep on pushing Terence Bud Crawford to come out of retirement, is he coming? Is he coming? To that fight, that performance that Jerome Boots Ennis put on. I know we got a lot of Jerome Boots Ennis fans talking. It seems to be mostly them that are bringing this up. As it's starting to get old, it's an old conversation that isn't really drawing that much interest anymore, because what Terence Bud Crawford has been saying and said again on the Porter Way podcast, he wasn't impressed with Jerome Boots Ennis' performance. So did it entice Terence Bud Crawford to come out of retirement and face this man? No. Because he thinks there's guys out there like Virgil Ortiz, Fundora, that can beat Boots Ennis. So if he don't even believe that you're the best in the division, why is he going to come after you? That round 3 was good for fighters like Virgil Ortiz, Sebastian Fundora. Well, Fundora and Samson Lukovic, get the hell out of here. They're completely ducking Boots Ennis. But it was good for guys like Virgil Ortiz, dogs, because they seen vulnerability in the game of Jaron Boots Ennis. Rather than Jaron just knocking this guy out and not seeing, any type of holes in his game, they seen the holes in his game, which pushed everybody to go to social media and automatically be like, yeah, if that was Virgil, he's done. But that was good for that. But it wasn't good if you're trying to attract the likes of somebody like Terence Bud Crawford, bro. It was a great win. I thought it was a dominating performance, but in the likes of Terence Bud Crawford, in the eyes of that man, y'all gotta believe he wasn't that impressed by that. Former 5-division world champion, 3-time undisputed, 3 different division undisputed champion. Cross that through your head. This isn't a 2-time undisputed champion like Canelo, but in the same goddamn weight division. Alexander Usyk, nothing but respect to the man, but also a 3-time undisputed champion, but 2 times in the heavyweight division, 1 time in the cruiserweight division. Terence, 3-time, 3 different divisions. Y'all gotta understand why Terence Bud Crawford is speaking like this. Now, I know there's a little bit of hatred. We got the rivalry going on. But I want y'all to let me know. Does Terence Bud Crawford make a strong argument? Does he? It's absolutely interesting. I always like to see what Crawford has to say. But for a fact, he ain't coming out of retirement. And that performance wasn't enticing enough. So that argument that everybody, the Jaron Boots Ennis fans seem to be wanting, seem to, keep calling out Crawford for, it's just not realistic. These performances, it's a great fight for the fans, but for Crawford, there's too many holes, bruh. My goodness, man. I want y'all to let me know in the comments how you feel about Terence Bud Crawford's reaction.